Hello, I am Adalberto Cervantes, and we continue with Nancy Owens again. I mean, his her history or her stories are really amazing, and we're going to try in this program to start with the Obama. I mean, how she saved the life of Obama, and we're going to try to compare the situation that we have right now with this government working as mafias and what she has lived. Good morning, Nancy. Thank
Hi,
you
how?
for being here in the program again.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. The first question is, we would like to know a little bit in more detail how you saved the life of Obama. You were telling us two situations, but I think that they are more, okay? It seems that Obama, I would like to know more details about the character of Obama. It seemed that at the beginning of his presidential term, he was considered like a liar. I mean, I don't know if can we talk a little bit about his character, about this situation. How do you feel, Obama? Because I mean, to have this kind of problems of being killed is because the person has some kind of issue. I think, even in the mafia. I think. Okay, can you tell us more about that?
We were all working, cartel included. We were all working within the American system. Obama was in part, he had a lot of, our grandmother had a lot of influence on him. He was, she was a very gentle individual, one of these individuals who did not believe in speaking improperly of people. If you had something bad to say, you kept it to yourself. So when they say Obama is Muslim, I mean, he quite possibly is, but I find it a little hard to believe because he had a Christian influence more during his younger years. Um, when he would have been exposed to the Muslim situation would have been 1985 and beyond. I just simply don't believe that he is deeply rooted as a Muslim. So his early influences would have been segregated. The town we grew up in, because of Pablo's situation when he with the when everybody, when Dias and the elders of the community decided to separate the Hispanics and the Americans who were living together, Clewiston became more segregated than ever before. So it was Harlem was where, from the age of at least 14 to around the age of 20, possibly 25, Obama lived in, and this was his environment for these years, for his teenage years. um, so but again, his grandmother worked for my grandmother and great grandmother as a maid in town. So again, I didn't know he was kin to me until his 14th birthday. Again, that was at Popeye Delgado's home. Popeye Delgado's mother being Ida Delgado. So her early influences would have been in within the city of Harlem, segregated, in a very small community, very agricultural community. We didn't have internet until like a decade after the rest of a lot of other people. A lot of bigger cities had had internet. So gentle. He growing up, he was a gentle individual, and I think he, again, looking back on where he wanted to go in 1985, which was away from the cartel and into college. I think he, like me, we wanted to get back to our roots, which was nonviolent, nonviolent.
Hello, I am Adalberto Cervantes, and we continue with Nancy Owens again. I mean, his her history or her stories are really amazing, and we're going to try in this program to start with the Obama. I mean, how she saved the life of Obama, and we're going to try to compare the situation that we have right now with this government working as mafias and what she has lived. Good morning, Nancy. Thank
Hi,
you
how?
for being here in the program again.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. The first question is, we would like to know a little bit in more detail how you saved the life of Obama. You were telling us two situations, but I think that they are more, okay? It seems that Obama, I would like to know more details about the character of Obama. It seemed that at the beginning of his presidential term, he was considered like a liar. I mean, I don't know if can we talk a little bit about his character, about this situation? How do you feel, Obama? Because I mean, to have this kind of problems of being killed is because the person has some kind of issue. I think, even in the mafia. I think. Okay, can you tell us more about that?
We were all working, cartel included. We were all working within the American system. Obama was in part, he had a lot of, our grandmother had a lot of influence on him. He was, she was a very gentle individual, one of these individuals who did not believe in speaking improperly of people. If you had something bad to say, you kept it to yourself. So when they say Obama is Muslim, I mean, he quite possibly is, but I find it a little hard to believe because he had a Christian influence more during his younger years. Um, when he would have been exposed to the Muslim situation would have been 1985 and beyond. I just simply don't believe that he is deeply rooted as a Muslim. So his early influences would have been segregated. The town we grew up in, because of Pablo's situation when he with the when everybody, when Dias and the elders of the community decided to separate the Hispanics and the Americans who were living together, Clewiston became more segregated than ever before. So it was Harlem was where, from the age of at least 14 to around the age of 20, possibly 25, Obama lived in, and this was his environment for these years, for his teenage years. um, so but again, his grandmother worked for my grandmother and great grandmother as a maid in town. So again, I didn't know he was kin to me until his 14th birthday. Again, that was at Popeye Delgado's home. Popeye Delgado's mother being Ida Delgado. So her early influences would have been in within the city of Harlem, segregated, in a very small community, very agricultural community. We didn't have internet until like a decade after the rest of a lot of other people. A lot of bigger cities uh, had internet. So gentle. He growing up, he was a gentle individual, and I think again, looking back on where he wanted to go in 1985, which was away from the cartel and into college. I think he, like me, we wanted to get back to our roots, which was nonviolent, nonviolent, extreme. Well, actually, even earlier, very, a lot of violence. It was constant, if you have been in the cartel, which, I know you either have
I
not.
am from Mexico. Being
Yeah,
originally I
yeah,
was coming from Mexico, so we're living with the cartel.
yeah. You live with constant murders, the constant
Yeah,
fear,
yeah.
the constant survival mode. You're always in survival mode,
Yes, that's
so
correct.
it's not like today where we have cameras on every corner. We're being watched constantly. So even if you do things, I mean, it's not like they don't know you've done it. They may not come forward and say, "We know you're involved in this, this, and this." Um,
When do you think the mafia's trying not to kill anymore Obama? I mean, and it is the case. Do you think that he has MK Ultra as you? I mean, that's a good question for you also. Do you think that you don't have MK Ultra or you have it?
okay, here's the situation with that. Of course, there's hypnosis and there's shock therapy, and I was subjected to that as a young age. What I see happening is if an event occurs, then certain people in the government step out and say, well, I caused that to happen. Okay, I controlled that. I'm in power. So the problem with this MK Ultra situation is, number one, nobody knows when it began. Okay, I don't know. Some people might know the history, but again, you're having to rely on the government giving you that information in the first place, and you don't know how reliable it is. Secondly, the problem is, again, if something happens, you have a politician who's always there to say, I did that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
I did it through MK Ultra, through the mind controls. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So MK Ultra is the subject I like to steer clear of
Yes.
for that very reason. I wish I could think of an example off the top of my head. It's again, to maintain power. If something happens, like let's say the space shuttle Challenger, that was bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was no accident. Obama's father, my father, was involved with the bombing. Okay,
Okay.
they've never disclosed this to the American public. Now, if they do, then what's going to happen is you're going to have a politician stepping up and saying, well, I did that. Well, I did that. So you never know, because everybody likes to make claims that they did X, Y, and Z. You never can get down to the truth of what really happened.
Correct.
So again, can they manipulate your minds? Sure. But the problem with acknowledging that the possibility, it gives them too much credit. I don't know if that makes any
Yeah, yeah,
sense.
yeah. Totally, totally. For me, it makes
Totally.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah, makes. Okay, in the situation of this threatening to Obama to be killed, how do you recommend a person to identify a situation of threatening? I mean, why Obama knows about this situation about against his life, or he didn't even identify that?
Oh no, he knew Miami.
Ah, okay, he knew.
The bombing. Pablo ordered when Obama was basically told Pablo, without saying it directly to his face, screw you, I've got other plans. I no longer serve you. You're no longer my master. Okay. You're no longer my lord. Okay. We didn't. America doesn't believe in calling kings, so we don't call you kings. And Pablo wanted to be called a king. Pablo wanted to be referred to as a king. Well, Americans, we don't do that because we've been so brainwashed into believing there are no such thing as kings, which there are. I mean, America has kings, many kings. Mexico has kings. You have them everywhere on there. Like in every town, you have kings. So we refer to Pablo as Lord, okay, because it's just we're too uncomfortable with the word king. When Obama said to Pablo, the Lord, okay, what we called her the Lord, the drug lord. That's where you get the term drug lord. That's why you don't say drug king. We say I've got other plans. I'm taking a new direction. Is when Pablo said, I'm here's what's going to happen. And I was called into his Montura compound and told to place a bomb, take a bomb down to the Miami Disco, which is where Obama, and my brother, my other brother, who is also Obama's half brother, White, where they were down there doing the disco thing. Disco was the big craze at the time. So I was ordered to place a bomb in the Miami Disco. And again, as I said before, leave Obama there, leave my brother there. And I walked in there. I remember putting down the bomb because, it's not hard to set a timer. We did it. We bombed two planes in Miami, a train in Daytona. Okay, those are those are ones that I did. I walked into, took a package onto a plane in Miami. It was bombed. I walked onto a plane in Miami, set it in the bin, got up and left. It was bombed. That's the one where there was only one survivor. They said only one survivor. Train him Daytona. So to sit here, to take a bomb and set it some down, knowing that you've got maybe 10 minutes to clear the area, it's not difficult. So my orders were to set the bomb in, leave, do not save your brothers. Well, obviously, I didn't obey those orders, and I had to practically drag Obama out. You've got to follow me. And at some point, I told them, this place is, Pablo's got a bomb going off. You've got to come out, and you've got to come out now. So we hit the street, and I don't know where they went. My orders were to give a call to Pablo after it was done. And that's what I did. I called from a payphone to Pablo Escobar's Montura compound, which should be on records, but the problem is, in other individuals in my family worked for the telephone company. So to falsify the telephone records would have been very, very easy. So is there a record of that phone call by me close to the disco back to Pablo Escobar's compound that still exists? I don't know. It's possible, but you have Nancy Pelosi, who was involved, former Florida State Attorney Joseph P. D'Alessandro, who was involved. He was Pablo's protector. Pablo did not know that's who protected him. Rivi did not know that's who ultimately protects you. It appears that it's Sermon Dias Jr., which it is, but higher up the chain, who you don't know, again, is the state attorney is the one protecting you. So that was the first save. Pablo was determined to kill Obama. So there was a second attempt. Again, that's the situation where Obama kept coming into the compound because he was on a roll. He's like me. He was going in a direction, and nothing was going to stop him.
Do
So,
you think that Obama at that time, because of this situation, tried to find someone to protect him? I mean, someone similar like Escobar,
uh,
or maybe someone above
I
him.
don't think, not to my knowledge. Well, see, he was under Griselda. There were two camps. There were two divisions of the cartel. And again, keep in mind, this is a very
When In the what we know, as you said in the previous program, you consider Obama as a U.S. citizen, okay? We might not even need the birth certificate or whatever legal document they need, but it seemed that he was living really as a U.S. citizen. But what about Africa? Because he's and what about even Latin America? He has some kind of contact with other country. I mean, at that time, or he was involved only in issues of United States.
Okay.
How? Yeah.
Yeah, he's born in Kenya by his own words. He's an American citizen because our white father, who is still alive, is an American citizen.
Okay.
Natural born citizen,
I don't think so.
it's that gray area where he spent a lot of his life in America, and in fact, looking back, if I say, asking myself, did he have a Kenyan accent? Not really. He's, you know, if I recall, at the age of 5 is when he came from. My father impregnated his mother. She supposedly, from what I understand, went back to Kenya, and then at age 5, he came back. But see, there's two conflicting stories, and I don't know which one's the truth. The second story is that he was with a doctor in Tucson, Arizona, and that up until the age of 14, that's where he was. So there was a doctor. There were actually two doctors that I met, okay? One that I know for an absolute fact, undisputable fact, is Lulu. Okay, Lulu had adopted Obama.
Okay.
And I know this for a fact because during the time that we were forging the birth certificate, Lulu came around because Obama needed, I needed paperwork. Obama, my father denied Obama as his son.
Okay.
So I think psychologically to say, well, somebody claims me, he brought the adoption papers that Lulu had signed to adopt Obama's, and he showed these to me under Pablo's window in Montura, saying, these are my adoption papers. Because I had asked him, you know, his last name was very difficult to spell. It was either the Sabarka or the Sotero. It was really difficult to spell. So he was showing me the papers on how to spell it. So again, I think based on what I know, based on his own words, he's born in Kenya. Based on stories that I remember, he lived there until the age of 5 and came to America. Based on
Why he has the choice to be an American? He chose to be a Kenyan. Some kind of protection against the mafia,
uh
some kind of maybe easy to work with them.
no,
I mean, or he
no.
was planning to be at that time a president. I mean, what's going
Oh
on?
yeah, he was planning. That was his goal.
Oh, okay. So he
And I
was a
mean, I
goal.
have to admire the fact that he set that goal in 1985 and he achieved it. It kind of irritates me that he was right and I was wrong because, he said, I bet you one day I'll be a president before you will. Okay.
Oh,
So I
great.
was like, because I was forging the birth certificate, I was like, yeah, right. That will never happen. That will never happen. So, here it is all these years later, and here he is. He's met his goal. I mean, he's like me, where when we set our goals, we don't stop until we achieve them, whatever those goals may be. His
So what?
goal was to be president in 1985. That's the goal he
So
set.
at this time, what you are telling us is that he knows already that he's going to be a president, and he was doing everything to make it true. Okay. So
Um,
even this situation of Kenyan and or American citizen, everything was prepared as you are telling us. Okay. to be
What?
president?
Okay, you have to go back and look not at Obama, but at George
Pablo.
Bush Jr. could do for Pablo. And Pablo was a very greedy man. He was a very selfish, very greedy individual. Very smart. He was a teacher, but he didn't like sharing. So George Bush Jr. came along and said, and this I was either in South America or Central America. I'm not really sure. Pablo took me somewhere, and I don't know where I was taken. So George Bush Jr. with his military planes, his cargo planes, like I said before, Pablo, you want a bathhouse? You take a look at this plane I got right here. I can bring you a whole, yeah, I can bring you a whole house. I can bring you toilets. I can bring you wood. I can bring you, trusses. I can bring you. These are not his words. These are, you know, but it was clear once he opened up, because George Bush Jr. opened up the cargo plane. All right, he was to my like 9 o'clock. Opened up the no, make it 9:30.
Hmm.
Opened up the cargo plane, and you could see you can fit anything in there, anything that Pablo Escobar needed to build his compounds in Central and South America.
So what you're saying
George,
is that Bush Jr. convinced Pablo to start living in Colombia, I think, because at the end he was a politician who controls everything in Colombia.
what happened was that George Bush Jr. took it from a small time operation. Okay, and small time being, you can bring about, I don't know how many kilos of cocaine on a plane. You do that, to it. He had several pilots, so it was, quite a bit if you stop and think about it. What George Bush Jr. could do for him was, multiply it. God, I don't even know how many fold. So Pablo became more and more rich, more and more powerful, and it just 1980. Pablo's got to where he didn't trust me. Okay, but for many different different reasons. Um, the biggest reason was because Pablo, the Delgados were running submarines in Lake Okeechobee. So it was at that time that I made a move that I, I attempted to kill Jaime Delgado because he was in a submarine. The fact that the Cubans were running submarines in American waters in my town, my hometown, um, that alarmed me. And I had been tight with the Delgados long before Pablo and his cartel, long before I became exposed to that. So I attempted to kill Jaime when he was in the submarine. When I was in the submarine, I had never been in a submarine before, so I wrapped my arm. I couldn't find anything in the submarine to kill him, except for
It was a
one.
military submarine, or it was
Yeah,
like a private military?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And hindsight being 2020, because I've had to stop and think about all of these things in the past couple of years, it was on the other side of the Corps of Engineers.
Hmm.
And I didn't know how the submarine got there. Hindsight being 2020, I think it was driven into the Corps of Engineers, and a helicopter picked it up and flew it into the lake. I think it would have been that easy. And again, these are the years that during George Bush's involvement in the cartel.
So what you are telling us is that Bush Jr. Offered whatever equipment in the military for Escobar to 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 be placed in Colombia and to be, I mean, a king in Colombia.
Well, again, Pablo would have become so filthy rich that could he make the moves in Colombia that everybody says he does? I don't doubt it. The problem is I don't have personal knowledge of it.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, that's why I want to complete the history because as a Spanish speaker, I know some stories related with Escobar. It's what we know that he was really a king, he was a politician, and but I didn't know that he was held by the Bush using military equipment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So So he was really the best I seen. Why he was killed? I mean, some kind of trouble with the Bush.
Okay, I went from Palm Beach Community College. I did a summer of reporting. I went to the University of Florida. When I got to the University of Florida, I ran out of money. When I ran out of money, I went back to the cartel and told them I need money, I need some contracts. Do you have it? Instead of me, I'm not here in Clewiston, now I'm here in Gainesville. So do you have any contracts for me in Gainesville? Contracts were set up, and the girl that I was supposed that I did kill was supposed to be just a victim. I mean, it turns out that it was a situation where two men enter, one man leave. She was a contract killer too. I didn't know this. So there were several murders that happened in Gainesville. They said that Danny Rawlings was the killer. Danny Rawlings was a killer. He was a very, very ruthless killer. You know, the killers have a certain, and I know you've probably experienced it. You know what I'm talking about. Killers have a certain like shade. Some of them are kind of gentle, and you can,
Yeah, 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 I know.
and then there's the other ones that are like really, really hardcore, and you just never know. They're like you're like it's like playing with a candle. You're looking at them and you're saying, okay, well, if I make the wrong move, it's just like a candle, lighting up a stick of dynamite. This one's going to blow. Okay. Danny Rawlings was more like a stick of dynamite. He was one that you had to be really, really careful with, because that one would blow in a heartbeat. Okay, he was dead. I mean, he was the darkest of the shades. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, yes.
So he was blamed for the Gainesville slaughters. The thing was, is he wasn't the one who was behind it. And Pablo Escobar. That's when Pablo Escobar came in contact with Gainesville. So it's one thing to have Pablo Escobar kill off a bunch of rednecks in a small town. No, nobody's going to blink twice. But now it's in their territory. It's in the university system where the all of the rich kids go, all of the politicians' kids go. Now it's crossed a line as far as they're concerned. Their children are in danger. So it was 8 weeks later that Pablo Escobar was tied up in a motel room in Melbourne Beach, Florida. 8 weeks later, after the birth of my daughter. Okay, this was about a year later after the birth of my daughter. And that's where I killed him.
Okay, okay. So this contact with the bush is I think that is really important. You had mentioned in some of your videos that I have been watching about the white genocide. Okay, what do you know about the Mexican genocide? Can you tell us and another situation? If you know some kind of assassin coming with MK Ultra from the military, because we know that there are some military that are prepared from when they are children to be assassins, okay? And there are mind control. They have studies in killing, but I mean in the perfection way. I mean, okay.
Right.
How can you can you tell us something about that? And
Okay. America does, we're no different. Again, our culture is no different from Mexico.
no,
We
no,
do
no.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, sure, totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, yeah, I kind of, what was your question again?
Yeah, basically, at this time, you were mentioned that Bush connected connected what's his name? This guy that control the mafias, okay? This after politician, Colombian politician, but at that time you have even equipment from the military. What we like to know is, do you know at that time that there was, there is a depopulation agenda for the elite.
Oh,
And
okay,
this
yeah.
involved the killing of a lot of white people using narco traffic. Okay, but
Any
as well
plan
at
of
that time with Escobar and the military to make this the population because it is
No,
related.
no, no,
Okay,
no, 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 no.
okay, okay,
There's again, you have different camps. You have mafia,
okay.
you have businessmen, which they're not completely separated, but you do. Okay, so you have mafia, you have the businessmen down there protecting their interest, and you have Pablo Escobar. With the Adam Walsh murder, there were three different divisions. Okay, there was mafia who bowed out at this time, businessmen protecting their interests, Pablo Escobar and his white genocide agenda. That Adam Walsh with the Hispanic killer, the one who Rivy, who picked up Adam Walsh, that was white genocide. With Roberto Escobar, white genocide. With Pablo Escobar, white genocide. Now, not everybody in the cartel believed the same thing that Pablo did. The Delgados were not racist. Ribby was not racist. Oscar was not racist. The one who was very, very racist was Pablo Escobar.
You mentioned a Mexican, Caro Quintero. You mentioned Caro Quintero before in the
Yeah, car
he,
can
he was in some way participating in the Mexican genocide.
uh the killing of
Yeah,
Mexicans.
yeah, they are killing a lot of Mexicans right now. Or only white genocide, or is he was
Uh,
related with something like that, or not really?
he served Griselda
Okay.
until certain events took place, and that is, if I recall correctly, that's when Rivy came into the picture. If Olivia is her real name. If she did not trust you as an assassin, she had money, she'd find somebody else. So Rafael Caro Quintero was outed by her, and if I recall correctly, Rivy was very tight with Pablo. But as Rivy will tell you, I'm a lover, I'm not a fighter. Having said that, he's a very, very ruthless killer. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, you told us.
he's
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, because going through this, I met a lot of killers at this time,
I think
and
that you were in the top or topest killers in the with the yeah some kind of
well,
relationship. I think at that time.
I admired. See, that's the thing. I admired like John Hinckley Jr. We did the Reagan assassination. I admired some of them, like John Hinckley Jr. because he gets up there, pulls the gun out, he starts shooting, uh, like a perfect assassin. Okay, Rivy and John Hinckley Jr. are a lot alike. Oliver or Oscar was kind of in between. So I didn't know. I mean, I thought everybody lived like this. I thought this was normal. It's like
Yeah,
you,
yeah, it
right?
was like a regular life for you.
Americans, if they were transported down to Mexico and had to live your life, would be like they wouldn't. They'd find it hard to deal with. certain things happened where to make sure that investigators didn't find out what was really going on, they said, well, we'll just put it on Olivia, because by that time, Olivia and Pablo had solidified with Bush Jr. Um, untouchable. They weren't. Bush Jr. wasn't going to touch them. They're not going to prosecute Pablo. They're not going to prosecute Griselda. So she took all of the reputation that I had lived up until 1984, a lot of it. So, again, my first order to kill was a 2-year-old child. Kidnapped the child. My Obama's mother or grandmother, my grandmother, our white grandmother, was doing a tent, pesticide tent. So my only job was to get that child away from the mother, get the child underneath the tent, and let the pesticide poison do the rest.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue with the situation of Escobar. Okay. Where, do you have do do you still have contact when he was in Colombia, or you lose contact with him, or they have some kind of communication?
I only had one situation with Pablo. Um, Pablo, again, I this was after we had had a falling out. He no longer had trust in me. He took me somewhere, and I don't know if it was Colombia. He took me somewhere where he had another large compound. He had, people say he only had one Naples. That's not true. Pablo had compounds all over the place. So he took me to a Hispanic compound. Everybody was, this was out of the United States. Where he took me, I do not know. My assignment was that there was an American man who was like the sheriff, he didn't call him a sheriff. He called him I don't want to say the word bailiff. It was he called him something different than what you would in America.
Okay.
My only job was to get, it was a dirt road, flat tire, go to the tire, let the air out, wait for this guy, because they knew exactly when this guy would be traveling on the road. Let the tire go flat, act like you're helpless out in the middle. You're an American girl. He spoke American. It appeared to be completely American in a country where everybody was Hispanic. Wherever it was, everybody was Hispanic. And so when he got out of the vehicle to help, that's when my job was simply to kill him. Go back to I don't remember how I got back to the compound. Uh, it was one of the times where, I mean, when I'm in America, I'm comfortable. If I'm in another country surrounded by nobody, that's very, very uncomfortable. And that made Pablo very angry, that I was, a little bit quite fearful at the time.
Mm.
I don't know where I'm at. And, so that Colombia? I don't know. I know that that was one of the kills that I made for Pablo, and I don't know where.
Mhm.
So,
When they ended how ended the relationship with Pablo Escobar?
the submarine where was probably the where it started to end. Um, and certainly by the time we bombed Naples. We bombed he built Naples out on the outside of Clewiston. That would have been another situation. When in the submarine, a lot of the Delgados were murdered off. The one they call the bikini killer.
Mhm.
Again, he's not Chinese. He's one of the Delgados. He's Popeye's cousin, or I think he's Popeye's cousin, because there was Chino, Umberto, and then there was
We know that the
Ami.
case of the Chapo, I told you in the previous program about the Chapo. The Chapo is considered one of the best drug dealers. And he's right now in jail in Ciudad Juarez. Okay, but he's supposed to work with Caro Quintero as well. He was
No,
he was there.
Quintero's been dead since 1983.
Okay, okay. So we have a
Okay.
double.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. The information you're getting on Caro Quintero is
It's totally wrong.
totally false.
Okay,
Caro Quintero has been dead since it was 1983, maybe 1984, somewhere around that time. He died. Rivy had been taken off to prison, to jail, to prison. So Griselda had to fall back on Raphael to do a kill against me, because she and I were back and she, nah, it's complicated. It's very, very complicated. So the kill was to kill me. All right. Rafael Caro Quintero was brought in to do so because he and I bonded. We connected really on a deep level. I really, really liked him in many, many different ways, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So he couldn't bring himself to kill me. All right. He killed the man that I was with, but he didn't kill me. During this time, it was in Pablo Escobar's Montero compound, and when the shooting started, the sheriff's department rushed in. They shot Quintero several times. He ended up with a bullet wound to the belly. He survived for a while, but he refused to go to a hospital. He was brought to my house where I tried to save him. But again, he wouldn't go to a doctor, and I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know how to stop the infection, and he ended up dying. He was in our house in a bed when it became very apparent that he was simply not going to make it unless he went to a hospital. I think it was Ida Delgado, Popeye's mom and dad, who came and got him, and he ended up dying anyway. His body was brought back to my house, and I was told, I don't remember by who, it probably Sermondias Jr., to bury him. So he was buried close to my house. The One of the deputies got killed at this time, and the man I was with was killed too. So those two bodies are buried in my yard. I have a sheriff's deputy buried in my childhood home. And Rafael Caro Quintero is not buried too far. He's not buried on the property, but he's not buried too far away from it either.
You say as well in one of your videos you were part of the killing of Pablo Escobar.
Yep.
Is that true? Because in all Latin America, we know that he was killed in Colombia. No.
That is a message that he was on a rooftop. That's what you call a false flag. He was not. No. Uh, there there was an assassination. Me, Ribby, Chino, and Rivy's younger brother. There was an assassination off of a roof, and I think it was done in, no, it might have been La Quica. I can't remember who the fourth one was. There was a killing done of a witness off of a roof into a federal building set up by Joseph P. D'Alessandro, and it was through an air conditioning vent. Okay, so Joseph P. D'Alessandro set it up. He says, we will have this, in quotation, witness in this room, in this seat, at exactly this time. You go to the roof, you have your rifle, And exactly, you will hit the target. We did hit the target. He was murdered. He could not obviously could not testify. Joseph P. D'Alessandro was in the room at this time, so that nobody could suspect him of being a part of the assassination. He's also one of the ones who said, "We are not going to have this witness down in Fort Lauderdale. Okay, we're going to bring him to Chicago." And my guess, just right now thinking about it, my guess is that's probably a way they've assassinated a lot of witnesses if you stop and think about it. So it was through an air conditioning vent. Ribby was with me. Chena was with me. There was the assassination, and so the message is with Pablo Escobar on a roof that whoever we assassinated, he was a soldier. I mean, there's no question about it. He was there asking questions. He was somebody's soldier. So the message is rooftop, correlation, witness.
Okay.
But 1993 murder, no, he was murdered October 2nd, 1990,
Yeah.
8 weeks after the birth of my daughter.
Yeah, false flag. Okay, do you? I don't know if you know today they are using some kind of guys that are called gun stalkers. Okay, basically these guys are killing by using electromagnetism, and they follow in some guys that are called target individuals. Uh, and we know that this kind of technology has more than 40 years. If there was some kind of relationship with these guys to tell you where was the victim, or you did everything by yourself. I mean, no any help of this Illuminati structure. Do you know about this Illuminati? I mean, secret societies or guys that are killing as well, or it is another level.
Okay, well, see, again, MK Ultra is a modern term.
Okay.
Okay, again, the technology that they had at that time was hypnosis and shock therapy, to the best of my knowledge. So I don't want to say that because we understand a little bit more today. Once you got to stop and think, they didn't start mapping out the brain until like the 1990s. So you can't take the technology of today and apply it to the 1980s
Okay.
with any solid foundation.
Yes.
So um yeah, so I
So
don't.
so so you did everything by yourself, no help of
No,
any
no, no, no,
external.
no, no. I always had handlers. I mean, it was always Anthony Toulis, Sermon Dias Senior, Sermon Dias Junior, um, yeah, Pablo, of course, Griselda, of course. Some on my own, some in self-defense, some just out of pure anger.
Mhm.
You just blow sometimes. Some for money, some for keeping my family safe, some because I was with either Rivy or, some to keep witnesses away, either for myself or for others. I mean, there's no one category of where these murders fall in. There's just so many different variables, so many, um, yeah.
So when Pablo Escobar died, Obama was with any more concern about his life, or there was other kind of threatening.
I don't know that I understand your question. I can, go ask it again because I don't quite understand the question.
Yeah, I mean, Pablo Escobar died. Okay,
Was murdered.
yeah, was murdered. Okay, correct. Obama continue with his goal to be a president. At that time, he was totally free, or he was, with he has another kind
No.
of threat.
He has a new handler, which was Judge Scalia, if I'm not mistaken. I would have, of course, Scalia's dead now. What happened is that when Obama set the goal Scalia
Servants.
wanted his. Okay, so that's when Obama went with this judge to Chicago. Um, and then he came back looking for money. He was either murdered or almost murdered. See, that's the thing. There was a funeral for Obama. Was he really dead or not? That I don't have any knowledge of. I see Obama. I see Allen. I know that I took the black and white photos for Griselda. Okay, she's the one that ordered those. Um, did he stop being a hitman? I very seriously doubt it. And Scalia would have been able to homeschool him in legalities. So you have your own personal hitman, and in exchange, you're providing an education. Again, I have no absolute knowledge of this. This is just if there's no history of him going to college, but yet he became a lawyer. Somehow, some way, he got the knowledge. It's not hard to say that you have Scalia who got him as a personal servant, and he became a lawyer. Therefore, it had to have been Scalia who homeschooled him. But that jump in the middle, I can't make it. I can only assume.
Okay. When you know that Obama was a candidate to be a president, um, when did you start claiming about the birth certificate? Is Obama doing something against you, or what you were doing all this in the media, trying to explain that there was a forgery in the birth certificate?
I thought Obama was dead. And a lot of these memories were buried. I mean, I didn't remember being married to Rivy. I didn't remember, killing Pablo. I didn't remember any of these. These are repressed memories. When I saw Obama coming across on the internet, I didn't even know who he was. I mean, I didn't know I didn't know. But when I saw him in the garb, in the Muslim garb, is when it started triggering things. Just not that he was my brother, not that I had forged the birth certificate, just that something's going on and this is not normal, and it just started triggering something really deep. And I think that the people who control the internet, the government, they were deliberately pushing this picture in front of me so that to make the trigger start. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if that's what you want to call my MK Ultra mind control, the
Well, where
yeah,
did you see that picture? In the internet or?
on the internet in 2007 is when I
Uh,
saw, because he was black didn't bother me. We had semi adopted a Dominican Republican boy who my girls had gone to karate with. He was living with us at this time. So it wasn't an issue of the fact that he's black. It didn't bother me a bit. It was when they kept showing this video with him in the Muslim garb, is again, that's when something really deep inside of me said, okay, we've got a bad situation here.
we
So
know that all his family in Africa and as well, I think in United States, in some way they hate the Obama. Why they are hating Obama? Because I mean, as a president, he didn't do anything in favor of you, or what's the situation with Obama? Because it's incredible
why would
than
why would he? We killed his mother. We killed his brother. He's not going to do anything for me.
okay, okay.
He's not, and I'm surprised. Yeah, you got to understand. I mean, you have to understand. If I were in his shoes, I wouldn't do anything either. I'd probably kill you.
Okay.
I'd get rid of you.
Yeah, and we know that he has been killing friends as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Yeah, maybe saving the best for last. I don't, I
Make you
don't know.
suffer.
You know, I mean, that's nothing unusual. Killing is easy. All you do
Yeah.
is pull a trigger. Um, so yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, are they just waiting for him to not? Because we are at the precipice of a civil war, just as Pablo knew we would be, just as the Russians knew we would be, just as the Castros knew we would be. We're right there at the potential civil war. So whose game plan? This See, this is why I say you have to be careful with MK Ultra, because you don't want Clinton saying, "Well, I'm responsible for what's going on today." You don't want Bush saying, "I'm responsible for what's going on today," because who's responsible are the Castros and the Russians. This is their game. We're playing their game, and that's what scares me as an American, is we're playing somebody else's game, and Americans are soft.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
when you compare us to other nations who, I mean, we raise our children to do the same thing other countries do. However, we have luxuries, and anything that threatens those luxuries, we don't like it. And we lash out at the very people we should be listening to.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yes, I know. So
so that's why we keep our mouth shut.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, the the next question is basically, I mean, after all these situations, what we know is that the Bush were really involved in the part of the narco traffic, even has the main directors or the main leaders
They be, they
worldwide,
became
is what
they
we know. But that's what's said by the Russians. So, what is
yeah.
your particular point about that? It is true?
Bush Jr. became Pablo Escobar's handler. It's that simple.
Okay, so you are confirming that in fact
Oh yeah.
the
Oh
Bush are
yeah.
totally involved. That means the skull bonds as well, or
I don't. Well, the only knowledge I have of that is with the Vince Foster murder, walking into a room where skin bodies to the right, skin bodies to the left. Is that skull and bones? I don't know.
hmm
Kind of
I,
fits the description, but I really don't know if that's skull and bones.
just so you don't know. Okay, about the genocide against the whites. So who is directing this effort? Is the are the Bush or do you see someone else?
No, that was Pablo. That was Roberto. That was the Castros. That was since they were backed by the Russians, you can only say that's the Russians. And as Pablo gained power, that's when Hugo Chavez came in. That's when, a lot of the Hispanic leaders from other nations began coming to America in the 1980s because they could. I mean, the law enforcement wasn't going to stop them. The Bush CIA, they were not going to stop them. So Pablo had a lot of VIPs coming into our town. Netanyahu came to our town. I've met Netanyahu. I've met Hugo Chavez. I've met Gaddafi, but in his territory, not in my territory. And I liked Hugo Chavez. I mean, Chavez was a very, very sexy man. So I liked Chavez. Okay, that's and
Do you think that Chavez might be in man control by the Russians? Because he was a different guy after to be a president, or at that time it looked he was looking different, or he was the same guy always.
well, my meeting with him was brief and it was sexual. It was a real quick sexual encounter, and if I'm not mistaken, it's on video. And Obama was with Hugo at the time. It was. Pablo had a lot of VIPs. Like I said, he was starting to really. He had his own little posse as he gained power. So my connection with Chavez was very, very brief, but very, very pleasant.
Okay. Do you
very,
think that he was
very
the same
good.
guy when he was a president, or he changed?
Um, I don't want to apply the MK Ultra terms to 1980s.
Yeah, I know. Okay. What about his character? It was the
You,
same.
okay, I think I know where you're going with this. The certain things go back to Germany, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, I can't, by personal knowledge, apply MK Ultra to that. It was just simply that Reagan had a boo boo, okay? And Reagan said, I fold, I quit, I'm not playing anymore. So in comes Castro, in comes Chavez, in comes Gorbachev, in comes Netanyahu, in comes all of the world players to this empty vacuum,
Do you
which happened.
do you know Salinas de Gortari? He was there. Salinas de Gortari. He was a
I,
you Mexican.
I
Totally
really,
blonde, totally
there,
without hair. No.
there were a lot of people. There were a lot of men that came there, and most of it took place in the dark of night because we would, if there was a full moon, there was no meeting. If it was a dark moon, this is where you had a lot of people come in. So, I've met a lot of people. I didn't know that I had met Hugo Chavez until studying within the past couple of years, with the memories coming back. I remember meeting Chavez.
Okay.
So it's just looking at the pictures, and these things are slowly starting to come back. Because again, these things were really gruesome. It was with Pablo Escobar's Montero compound. If you took luminol to his walls, you'd see blood splattered everywhere. That was a house where murder after murder after murder after murder after murder happened. I mean, it was nonstop. So a lot of my memories with this house, I can't sort the memories out. I know a lot of things happened, but I can't completely pull that
Yes.
apart. So they're coming back. I mean, the memories are coming back, but
Okay.
they're when it centers around that house, I can't remember everything.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here, Nancy, again. I think that
Okay.
we can have another program later.
Sure.
And do you want to add something of what you're saying? And please give us the about the financial support that you need as well.
Uh,
How to
yeah.
be.
GoFundMe at Nancy Ruth Owens. Um, so no, nothing to add. If you want to do this again on Monday or sometime next week, that'd be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, sure. Yeah, you have a lot of situations, and you might be even remember back. Okay, so yes, sure. Yeah, we are in contact, and hopefully we're going to have another program because this is really very interesting. At this time, then Obama is ending his presidential term. So thank you very much for being in
May,
the program, Nancy, and we'll see you.
maybe if we don't get into a civil war before then.
Yes, we
All
know.
right. All
Okay, thank
right.
you very much,
Bye
and
bye.
God bless you. Bye.